So how well do you know ellipses? Well, this is going to find out. They give you a picture, and they say, okay, what's the equation? Now, fortunately, the center is 0, 0. I never mentioned this, but that means it's going to be x squared instead of like x plus 2 squared, because the center isn't shifted. So that's nice. So by looking at it, the major axis, see that's 5 and 5, 3 and 3. I know the major axis is my y-axis, so it's going to be x squared over b squared plus y squared over a squared equals 1. Now, if that threw you for a loop, remember, a is bigger than b. And we know that our y-axis, our major axis is my y-axis, my minor axis is my x-axis. So this must be underneath my y. There, that's how I'm going to get started. Well, what's b? This is 3. So I go, okay, x squared over 9 plus y squared. Well, I got to figure out what a squared is. Well, you first got to know what a is. And it's the bigger one. So that's 5. So that's 25 equals 1. Now they might ask you, where are the foci? Remember, the thing I forgot, and then I remembered in the pre-lesson was, the foci are always, always, always on the major axis. What does that tell me? It tells me it's going to be on the y portion. So that means it's going to be 0, comma something and 0, comma something else. Where am I going to find that? Well, that's why you were given this formula. Whoops, that's not plus. B squared equals c squared. Now, we know that a squared is bigger than b squared, so that's 25 minus b squared is 9. So that's 16 equals c squared. Take the square root, bada boom, bada bing, do the right thing. So look at, I get plus or minus 4. Why did I get 2 answers? Because there's 2 foci. There's one of them, there's the other one. So it's 0, 4 and 0, negative 4. The book might write it like this, I'm not sure. So there's level 1 ellipse problems. Here we go. Level 2, maybe. Maybe this equals level 1, but there's a little curveball they throw at you. I'm going to show it to you. So first of all, we look at this, and we ask ourselves first, all right, how do I get started? Well, this is obviously bigger than this, so that's my a squared. So a squared equals 45, and then my b squared has to equal 36. Now this one's the easy one. We take the square root of both sides. If you want to go bada boom, bada bing, do the right thing, you get plus or minus 6, which means travel along the y-axis 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. What about this 45? Well, bada boom, bada bing, do the right thing. Because you know you're going to go out the x-axis. And it's going to be longer this way. How do I know that? Because a squared is bigger than b squared, so this is going to be my major axis. Anyways, the math is just going to do it for us. So we might want to break that down into 9 squared of 5. We might want to break that down into 3 squared of 5, but here's my point. To actually graph it properly, we could just take our calculator and get the square root of 45, which is going to be the same thing as 3 squared of 5, so why break it down? Well, to graph it accurately, we're going to need to know what the decimal is approximately. Now, what's the square root of 49? 7. What's the square root of 36? 6. Without a calculator, I'm going to say that it's approximately 6.8-ish. I should probably get my calculator out, but, so 6.8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to say it's right in here somewhere, and right in here somewhere. And now I'm going to draw it to the best of my ability, but these are kind of hard. They end up looking like eyeballs sometimes. Okay, there, I've graphed it. But it's not letting off the gas. It's asking you, okay, what's the foci? Remember, the foci, we got to know letter C. In the formula a squared minus b squared equals c squared, it's going to help us figure that out. So, a squared is 45. b squared is 36. And I go, okay, 45 minus 36 is 9. So this works out pretty good. Bada boom, bada bing, do the right thing. Remember, there's two foci. So that's going to be plus or minus 3. So that'd be right here, 3, 0. And here, negative 3, 0. Question, why wasn't it 0, 3, and 0, negative 3? Because the foci are always on the major axis, which is the longer one. Now they're testing you to see if you understand the terminology, which goes back to the pre-lesson. All those little things I showed you, now you have to make sense of it. So, find the equation of an ellipse. Like, okay, center 0, 0. So it's got to be x squared over a squared plus y squared over b squared equals 1. Or we could go x squared over b squared plus y squared over a squared equals 1. How do you know which one? Well, if the major axis is the x-axis, it's going to look like this. If the major axis is the y-axis, it's going to look like that. So somehow they gave us enough information to figure that out. So let's read it. And they also threw a curveball at us with the way they use their words. So watch. Find the equation of ellipse with center 0, 0. That means it's definitely going to look like this. It's not going to have like x minus 2 or x plus 2. So we can go ahead and at least get this portion of it done. So now we have a task. We got to figure out which one's the major axis. Well, they're going to give us some clues. The horizontal axis, 10 units long. Remember, that's this way. So if the whole thing is 10 units long, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, is that the major axis? I don't know. But it says the vertex axis. Remember the vertex, I showed you originally, they're at the end of the major axis. So if it's written like this, it's like that. If it's written like that, it's like that. So this is an extra clue, but you should be able, you don't even need that, because this is bigger than this. So if it's 16 units long, the whole thing, that's my major axis, that means I go up 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now again, my drawing, it doesn't tell me to graph it, but it sure helps my mind process things. So I say, okay, which one's the major axis? My y-axis. So it's going to be this. So I'm going to plug things in based on what I know. So x squared, I have it right here. So I know this has to be a squared and this has to be b squared. So I'm going to figure this out by using this drawing. I know this is 5, which is b. I know this is 8, which is a, simply because this is bigger than this. Like, okay, well, b squared would be 25. A squared would be 64. And I know it always has to equal 1. And that's how you plow through that one. Here we go. Find the equation of an ellipse with foci -3, 0, and 3, 0. Remember, the foci, huge clue, are always on the major axis. So this is their way of telling you the x-axis is going to be the major axis. What does that mean? It means a squared goes underneath the x. That's a huge clue they give you right away. But you have to know the foci are always on the major axis. Then it gives you this. Passes through 0, 4, and 0, -4. It's like, well, so I know it has to look something like that. Now, is that accurate? Probably not. But I know that this is my major axis. This is my minor axis. Now, what does this picture really tell me? It tells me C is 3. And it tells me, because I know this is the minor axis, B is 4. With that in mind, and this in mind, I can put 16 here, which tells me, aha, I got to find A, and then square it, because I need A squared. But watch this formula. It's A squared Always want to put plus there. Minus b squared equals 1. I got to find a squared. Oh, not 1, c squared. So a squared minus, remember, b squared is 16, equals c squared. If c is 3, 9. I'm going to add 16, so a squared is 25. Now, I know your temptation, because it's mine too. Bada boom, bada bing. But remember, we want a squared down there, so it's like, be done. And there you go. You found it.